Hi, this is Adam Elio Berkowitz. I'm here today with Rav Pesach Wolicki, who is the executive director of Israel 365 Action, and he's the author of Verses for Zion and A Cup of Salvation. And he has really taken off recently. He's become his videos have gotten a lot of traction and an awful lot of views. And I think the reason is because he is the only person out there who is giving a perspective about current events from the land of Israel and with a Bible based perspective, a powerful Bible based perspective. So, Rav Pesach, I'd like to know what have you been doing since October 7th and how has your life changed?
Well, it's changed significantly, not the least of which is that I have children who have been in combat, fighting. So there's been a lot of prayer. But mainly what you're referring to is in terms of advocating for Israel. Until October 7th, for many years, my work just really focused on what we would traditionally call Jewish-Christian relations, interfaith work, teaching the Bible, connecting with Christians, and connecting with their love for Israel on in terms of biblical terms and spiritual terms. I never shied away from talking about politics or those things. But when after October 7th happened, and I realized that the Jewish establishment, the mainstream Jewish community and Jewish media was kind of caught flat-footed. And our major base of support, the major base of support for Israel in the world, is the Christian community. It's become even more clear after October 7th, when pretty much everyone else has abandoned Israel. And that's sadly, I say sadly, even on the right. It's not just the left that's abandoned Israel, but even many on the right who don't come from a biblical perspective have done so. But I also realize that for so many of our Christian supporters of Israel, they don't necessarily have the talking points about the political situation, the geopolitical situation, the security situation. They don't necessarily know those ins and outs. So they can tell people, the biblical reasons why they support Israel. But when they start getting challenged with lies about Israel, like genocide or, things having to do with the Hamas war or, all of the details, they need that too. And I don't see any division, Eliyahu. I don't see any division between faith and politics. I know it's very popular for pastors and rabbis to say, "Oh, I don't want to mix faith and politics." And I say, "No, no, 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 no. That is cowardice. That's cowardice." Because both faith and politics are dealing with the same question, which is how are we to run the world? How are we to govern the world? And if you open up the Bible, you see that Abraham was involved in politics, Isaac was involved in politics, Jacob was involved in politics, Moses was involved in politics, David was involved in politics, Joseph was involved in politics. This is the Bible talks about nations and it talks about uh, abuses of power and it talks about how nations run and wars. And there's a lot of politics in the Bible. And this idea that we're supposed to separate these two things is to me cowardice, and it's missing what faith is really all about. If you don't want to mix your faith and your politics, you either don't take your faith that seriously or you don't take your politics that seriously. But they're both about how we run the world. So getting back to what I've been doing since October 7th, I realized that having a solid knowledge of politics, as I do, thank you for saying that when you introduced me, and also understanding our audience, which is mainly made up of Christian supporters of Israel, but also Jews, people who are coming from a biblical perspective. I found myself in a situation, I took the responsibility, as it were, to start putting out messaging, through videos and through a show that I had for a while in my podcast, but really, and articles in the Jerusalem Post and elsewhere on Israel365news.com, putting out the information that people need in order to know the truth of what's happening in Israel and what's happening in the Middle East. And it's this deeply held belief that I have that faith and politics really are two sides of the same coin. They really are things that we must be blending together. We must inject faith into our politics, and we must, if we're going to beat the other side. There are plenty of people in the world who are into politics and have no faith. And if people of faith don't get involved, we're basically giving up the territory to our enemies. So that's what I've been doing a lot of advocacy. So some of it's been through media, like I just described, but also through my relationships with Christian leaders in America, especially, but elsewhere in the world. I've been working with them on their messaging and constantly in conversation with these Christian leaders, so that the Christian community really knows the truth and is armed with the truth in order to fight the battles on behalf of Israel. So this has been a big focus of mine since October 7th started. Frankly, Eliyahu, a big part of me wants to go back to before the war, where I could just teach the Bible and enjoy
Yeah,
that. But
yeah, I figured.
this has been what I've been busy with for it's taken up a lot of my attention since the war started.
I bless you that you can go back to just being a simple yid and teaching Torah, Kimitzion Tetzei Torah, that the Torah will come out from Zion, and that you can turn around in your office and hug your boys, and we can be done with this and move on to the next stage. And I really can't thank you enough for your Torah-based perspective and guidance through these very difficult times. It's really very important. And
Thank you.
folks, really, I recommend watching his videos, getting the scoop from Rav Pesach. I'm very merited to be able to hear it firsthand quite frequently. I'd like to more. So thank you all, and be blessed from Israel. Thank you so much, Rav Pesach. He just came back from America, and he's just running around trying to do God's will in this world. Thank you so much, Rav Pesach.
But God bless you.